Bloom Carroll, Board of Education, August 14th meeting to order. And Travis, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Chapman?
Present.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Present.
Mr. Fowler?
Present.
Mr. Millis?
Present.
Mrs. Parker?
And just for the record, Mrs. Parker would call and say she was unable to be here and apologize for the late notice. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have the agenda that's been put in front of us, and I have a couple additions and corrections. On page 2, C1, I need to add a voting line after that. And then on page 3 of 6, number 7, the health secretary position, Mr. Hahn will explain it, but that's going to be changed to a 7.5 full-time. We'll be asking for approval of full-time position, 7.5 hours a day instead of 5. Then on page 4 of 6, under 17A, I think I have it right. I need a voting line there. And I don't see, I think all of the dates are pretty well, are correct, so I'm not gonna hold myself to that, but I think these ones I checked, I think are okay, unless somebody knows something different than I do. And that's the additions and corrections I have on the meeting minutes. And then if you go to the addendum, which you received tonight, number 9 under the personnel, under the superintendent's recommendations and report, personnel and employment, we'll be removing 21 because that's taken care of in the main agenda. And then the rest of the numbers will, 22 will become 21, 23 is 22, and so forth. So 25 is 24. And that's all I have. Are there any other additions or corrections?
Just a question on the meeting section, when we decide whether it's tentative or not in the planning session.
Yeah, I think, did you decide, do you want to talk about it when we get there, or the planning session? What did you?
Yeah, a lot of it, I will have some information that I can share tonight.
So you want to just hold until we get there?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's going to be tentative, we'll just need, if it's going to be approved, then we'll.
But it's not information that's going to happen in the executive session and then come back out and decide.
Not for tonight, no. Is it or not?
No, executive sessions after that, so.
Right, that's.
Yeah. I think we'll go ahead and keep that date.
Something like that.
Because you'd have to decide if that's the reason for it. You have to decide before you do it.
So do you want to leave it on?
I think it'd be good to leave it on.
Okay, so the tentative needs to be removed, thank you, Ron. Tentative needs to be removed from the 8/28 Board of Education planning session. Okay, are there any other additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
And I will second. And Travis, if you would, please.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
And you have the July 10th minutes in your agenda packet. If I didn't see anything, and I don't know, Ron, I know you sent me an email, but I don't remember what it was.
They looked great. The only thing was that it listed the planning session, the July 24th
Okay.
that we had removed. So we removed that off of the official copy.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other additions or corrections to the minutes of the July 10th meeting, I'd like to have a motion to approve those as submitted. Thank you, Danny. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ron. And could I get a roll call?
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Abstain, I was in the last.
And Mrs. Chapman?
Yes. Okay, and we don't have anybody for public participation, so I understand. Well, Jody did that, I know. So I would like to share with the board tonight, so we can be kind to Jody. She told me this morning there are 3 days or 3 times that her job is like it's the most trying. And it's the first day of school, when she has PD days, personal development days for the staff, and then she has to present to the board. And so all three of those things happen to occur today. So she's been pretty, I don't know how we planned that for you, but, and I will apologize, but I also want to say, I know you did a great job. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I am
Lots of
excited.
caffeine today, just to get.
Yes, a lot of caffeine. It is wearing down, so maybe to your benefit, I'm not sure. I am excited to be here and share with you some updates with the local report card and our new curriculum programs that we've adopted. I have two handouts, and one is just a copy of the PowerPoint. Just have a short PowerPoint, but it does, if you want to follow along there, take notes, or look up here and I'll try to stand back. Travis is going to operate it for me. And then the other handout is a copy of the state report card of results, the county comparison sheet.
And
so
these are preliminary, though.
They're preliminary. They're still, they fluctuate each week as changes are made in EMIS, but this is as of July 30th. So we'll refer to that in a minute, but you can go ahead. I'm going to talk about the local report card, our programs, and a little bit about our professional development. The first slide here, our data comes in July, and it's our first look at what our report card results will be. We look at the achievement results, and the handout that you have, we'll go ahead and look at this sheet here. This is the calculations of all the tested areas. So there's 23 tested areas on the report card right now, starting in English language arts up to, say, government at the high school level. And out of the 23 indicators, I'm gonna have you bounce back one more if you don't mind, Travis, just for here, yeah. Out of the 23 indicators that are measured, we met 11 of the 23. So when those results come in at first, we're like, oh, we got 11. I don't know how that is. So the other curriculum directors in the county, we start to compare and look at how we did. We did meet the most out of all the county schools on the indicators for the achievement test. And we also had 10 of the highest percentages out of the 23 areas. So that, to me, I'm very proud of our staff and our students, because we had two significant changes this year for our district that others may not have had. We went online for the first time this year for all of our tested areas.
And that was clear down to third graders.
Yes. And so we had been sticking to paper pencil, so we were a little, wondering how we would do this year when we did jump to online. We were afraid there'd be a slide. We did not. But then the other change is that in order to meet the indicator in the past, we always had to have at least 75% of our students be proficient in those tested areas. And the state has decided to make the game a little more challenging each year for us. They moved it to 80%. So not only did our platform change, but the percentage that we had to pass increased at the same time. And through that, we ended up with 11 indicators. Now on this chart that I handed you at the bottom, I wanted to total up so you can see how Bloom Carroll is comparing to the other county schools. They're listed here going across is the tested areas. You have the English section first, then the math tested areas, science, and then social studies. And then the columns down are the school districts. So AC is Amanda Clear Creek, FU is Fairfield Union, LU Liberty Union, then you have Lancaster, Walnut Township, which would be Millersport too. Pickerington is on here as well, Bloom Carroll, Byrne Union, and then the state. Now on this chart, you have to, you had to get 80% in any of those areas to get the indicator. So we marked these, the areas passed in green. There's not a lot of green on this paper, so you can see it's a very challenging test. The tests are very challenging now. But if you look down our column, we did have the most areas met, and then the number at the bottom, the 10, is indicating that out of all the tests, we were 10 of the highest percentages. So I think that, yes.
And Jody, did we not hear that there was something that happened in the legislature, or they're considering, or the Board of Education, the State Board of Education, they're going to mess with these testimonies again, or the report card?
They will continue to do that every year, but yes, they're looking to even move the indicator mark to 85. I don't know if that's supposed to happen next year. They change stuff. They say it's going to happen, and then they do make adjustments according to how districts are faring with things. But they do keep moving the mark for us a little bit.
No, I was
Any
just
other
going to say, I just wanted to remind the board that when we met with the calendar committee, because it's time to start school, and, people are saying we're starting really early. And so, we did discuss, part of the reason for changing early was to finish all the exams before the kids get out at Christmas, so they don't have to come back and pressure, under that kind of pressure. But also is to maximize the number, this is a quote, of teaching days that are available to us before we come back and start testing in February. So when people ask me why we're starting school early, I say call the State Board of Education, because this is why.
And your wonderful state legislature.
But yeah, so, and with this, I just want to say, the staff, the students, they've worked really hard. Clicking on it to the next slide. When we, so as you know, the state has now issued letter grades, and the report card has different components. And so where it is preliminary, I just put some of our results up here right now. Out of the components, the achievement is what I just was showing you. So even though we did do pretty well in the county, last year we got a C, this year it looks like we're gonna land at a C as well, because there's other data that is calculated into that. Gap closing, last year we had an F, we had increased that to a C and put a lot of work into there. K-3 literacy, we were sitting at an F last year. We've made some tweaks and adjustments, and looks like we're gonna get a B this year. Progress is our value-added measure. We had a B last year. I have NC there now. It's not calculated yet because those results are not back. That takes a little bit longer for the state to calculate the value-added
Now,
measure.
is that the student's progress from one year to the next?
Yes,
Okay.
and this is really some of the most, that's the data teachers can't wait to see, because their evaluation depends on that student growth piece. So we're waiting for that to come in. And then graduation rate at A, we always do very well with graduation rate. So that's the information on the report card. Any questions?
Special ed.
That fell in here with our gap closing, and so we did show improvement in that area. So each of these, just those one test, what's interesting to me, it's these test results right here, just the one little test where it gets interpreted multiple ways of how, we are showing growth in different areas, so. But that's it for the report card.
So when our students say, some of our students who've gotten a little bit smart around this testing say they're just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So they're just not gonna do it if we have 149 that are taking the test and 5 of them decide A, B, A, C, D, whatever, that can skew those results.
That impacts, yes. And I hate to see that happen. It impacts the district, it impacts a teacher's evaluation, and there's not a consequence for a student really except at the graduation level when they're counting up points, but, so, yes. So next, curriculum, the whole process of how we review and adopt curriculum, here at Bloom Carroll, we have a rotation cycle. So this chart up here is letting you see the flow. Last year in 16-17, we reviewed our English language arts program, the resources we have. So what we do, we begin by laying out the standards. The standards have changed. We have the revised standards. We look at data, and then we start to look at what programs are out there, look at the research behind them. We look at high-performing districts, see what they're using, and then from there we begin a process, you can click to the next slide, of selecting a new curriculum. So what we have done, and I'll explain the process of how we have selected it. At the lower grades, we selected a program by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt titled Journeys. And at the high school, we are going to pilot a program for 1 year study sync with the idea of possibly adopting it. We'd like to try it 1 year first to make sure it's all that we want, because we're learning with some of these programs now. They're all claiming to be aligned fully to the standards, but then when we get in it, it might not be what we want. So this one, we're going to just pilot for 1 year and make a decision for adoption after that. Next slide. To explain the process, and this is how we do it with any program, we will talk to other districts, we'll look at research, and we'll get a bank of programs to start researching. We form a committee that consists of a teacher from each grade level, administrators, and we start a process. It's a year process, really, to go through. And we meet periodically. We have the different vendors. These are the programs we looked at this year. Ready Gen with Pearson, McGraw-Hill's Wonders, Journeys, with Hope Mifflin and a program called Literacy Footprints that the teachers were interested in. And we go through, we evaluate it, we align it to our standards, look at what's meeting our needs the most, and then we have the vendors come in and do presentations, and we start to narrow it down. And by April, May, we make a decision on what program we want. We bring that vendor back in, do one final round, and then make a decision as a committee. So at the lower grades, we, yes, picked, that's fine, go right on journeys. And then at the high school, we went through the same process. There was 3 different programs that we looked at that's aligned to the high school standards. And from there, we selected Study Sync to go through for 1 year.
So Jody, with the younger ones, the
Yes.
language arts, so in that, this supports or is for my favorite topic, is that in this journeys, or are we looking at our reading program also, or are we done looking at that?
In the sense of, well, we are adopting this that is encompassing of all, it has writing, reading, all the components, but in terms of AR, I assume you're meaning, we are gonna keep that within, because it's more of a supplemental piece, and the teachers feel that that is very needed to support their expectations. But what we'll do after we go through it this year, if there's a change with that, we will definitely, we're flexible.
You guys are gonna make sure that you're looking at how it's implemented in
Yes.
each building and
Absolutely.
the testing is available.
The first year, anytime you implement a program, you layer in pieces of it at a time, and to see how it is working with the students and in the classroom and make adjustments. So yes. Next. Okay, so next up, here's the cycle again. This year, 17-18, we'll be doing non-core areas. So that will be art, music, PE, CT classes. We'll go through their, look at their standards, see what resources they have, if there's any gaps, and then we'll go through the same process with them.
What about foreign language?
Foreign language, well, we just did foreign language this year. I sort of
Okay.
slid them in with the English language arts,
Oh, okay.
and they did get new resources. They just really updated theirs, textbooks that had a digital component. So they did do, I probably should have added that too. Professional development, this is from today, actually. Today was a PD day, and teachers we had multiple sessions going on, different vendors in, all to support the new programs we have. That'll be ongoing throughout the year, but we do try to personalize it to the needs of each student. Go ahead, next slide. PD plans for the year. You guys have heard me say it multiple times. We have a county PD in September, but our theme this year is hashtag Fairfield County Rocks. And we're going with that because we did the book study last year, Your School Rocks. And we decided that we're gonna let people know all of the schools in Fairfield County rocks. We are gonna partner we've contacted local businesses to donate money for t-shirts so we can get t-shirts free for all the educators that attend. They'll be in their school collars, and they'll have the little logo on the front with all the school emblems. It'll say hashtag Fairfield County Rocks on the front, then on the back it's gonna say Together We Sew Rock. And we're gonna list the businesses that are showing support for our local school districts, and we're gonna invite them in that day. So that's, I always look forward to that day, that's fun. February 16th is a PD day here in the district initiatives. If you can see, we have had one today. This day is a county PD, and then we have one in February. So it's February until we get a whole nother day around to work with our teachers. And then I'm gonna do with teachers optional, a book study, Teach Like a Pirate, and you can flip to the next.
And why would I want to teach like a pirate?
Huh?
And why would they want to teach like a pirate?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Okay.
That's a great question. That's why I put this slide here.
I figured it was
So
gonna be
this
something like that.
This is a book, it swept the nation really a couple years ago, and we're just now getting to it here, but it's a great book to help teachers find their passion again and to just have enthusiasm in the classroom, because there's nothing greater, I think, in a classroom than enthusiasm, because it's contagious and it inspires kids for a passion of learning. So this book will help increase student engagement in the classroom, boost your creativity, and it will transform your life as an educator. So who would not want to sign up for that? We're going to set sail in September, and we had people sign up today. So we have over 31 teachers that are going to sign up for that. And we have...
Could you tell them about, along with that, would you tell them about what happened the last day of school? When you had the PD, when you left school, you had a real...
Oh, yes, so at PD this summer, and I shared this morning, I offered some PD this summer that was for 2 days in June for our teachers here at Bloom Carroll, and we had over 40 teachers come in for 2 days of training on some of our new programs that we have coming in, and collaboration and preparation for next year. And we had teachers attend other sessions. We had a group go to Cleveland for an autism conference, and some ELA teachers went up to Columbus for some blended learning training. So our teachers really do take their profession seriously and really do try to be the best that they can. And I think that shows in our test results and ultimately how we perform here at Bloom Carroll. So it is a great district to work for and be a part of. But that is it. Any questions? Right, yes.
So have you identified in the last few years the need for additional PD hours or even full days through the actual school year? And if so, how could that be built into schedules?
We definitely,
Because it seems so limited with just
it is very limited, and it is a great need finding it. So when we have just the limited days that's on the calendar that you see, in order to get time to train our teachers on the new programs we bring in, because one thing we really want to promise to our teachers, if we're bringing something new in, we really want to give you time and to train you, make you feel comfortable and confident in the classroom. Finding the time to train in is the challenge for us. So when those limited days come around, we have to pull teachers out for during this instructional time and get subs. That gets us limited because you only can get maybe 6 teachers out at a time because you can't get a group of 30 teachers to sub for a day. So we're limited in that, and we try to meet after school, during the school day, and then some on their own. So more time would be a blessing, really. Any other questions?
You survived a wonderful
I
day.
did.
Thank you. Okay, Travis, you want to treasurer's report recommendations?
Yes, item 7A, asking for board approval of the July financial statements. Total expense for the month, $9,327,639.98, of which included $7,060,082.23 from the consortium expenses. Page 13 of the packet, you have the executive summary. Again, just a review, July does represent the first month. We are officially in fiscal 18, even though we're obviously in calendar 17. July is a high revenue month with both real estate tax and income tax receipts. The quarterly income tax received in July was actually almost $69,000 lower than projected. It was also 3.7% lower than the same collection last year, which on the surface seems like a bad thing, and it's certainly not a great thing. But if you dive a little deeper, what comprises this 3.69% decrease are the April filings, basically, for the year. So we're basically a year in arrears. So you're basically comparing the April 2017 filings on 2016 income compared to the April 2016 filings on 2015 income. That's where the decrease came. So it's kind of catching up itself. If you look at current withholdings, which is this WH SD 101, we were actually up 7.81%. When you take into consideration those individuals who are having the school district income taxes deducted from their checks currently. So if they're set up with their employer to have the taxes withheld on a current basis, those were actually up 7.81%. So what I'm trying to say, kind of long-winded, is not a trend. It's more of a one-time catch-up with the April filings. July also represents most of our capital outlay expenditures for the month. Our bus lease, our paving, the storage facility out at the football field, a lot of those things we paid for in July. Just to keep in mind here as you look through, expenditure and revenue comparisons will not be able to be made both from a forecast perspective or looking at last year's perspective until we've gotten through August. It's just a lot going on financially, and it's just a lot of timing issues. With that being said, our current carryover is a little over $5.3 million. Again, July is a very big revenue month, so that's certainly inflated. Mrs. Chapman did, and I know Mr. Hahn's going to touch on it too, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. It's page 18 of the electronic packet. Two things to remember here as we look at our enrollment. I apologize, it's a little dark there on the screen, but one thing is when you see the 2005 total enrollment here, that does include juniors who are going to attend the Career Center, so those would be pulled out of that number. Usually there's about 25, 26, 27. So keep that in mind. As of July 31st, we were down to 149 open enrollment. That's down from 163. So obviously it's needed just due to the class size, but it is a financial hit of about $85,000 to $90,000 that we'll have to absorb, that we would lose if those numbers stay steady. We'll have some opening day counts. We'll have a lot better picture during the September board meeting. When you look at this same report in September, it should be pretty exact. So with that, any questions on the July financial statements or the checks written during the month?
And Travis, just on the open enrollment, we lost several families because, if I'm not mistaken, we did not take any kindergartners in. So we lost at least 2 families because they had 3 children or 2 children in, and the third didn't get in or whatever, so they made the choice to leave the district, right?
Yes.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the July financial statements for the total expense as presented? Have a second, please. A second. Travis, please.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Item B is approve the allocation fiscal 2018 IDEA funds. IDEA is an acronym for Individuals with Disability Education Act. This is a federal grant, and part of the requirements of the federal grant is that the board approves, and there's a public availability of public comment on the allocation of the funds. Our total allocation for the year is pretty much the same as last year, $316,828.87. Again, this is page 28 of the electronic copy. Very consistent with prior allocations. We look at 3 areas: our speech services, K through 8, our intervention at the K2 building, and intervention services at the 912 building. When we look at personnel, you see those 3 individuals that are compensated from the grant. That's not to say if the grant goes away, those individuals go away. That's just where we are allocating the IDEA funds. We also look at the addition of student aides from the ESC that inevitably comes during the year. Those are kind of hard to predict, so we do allocate some funds there to help offset those costs. And we also set aside kind of the remainder, it's kind of a plug number, if you will, for curriculum that comes up. The special education team has that in their back pocket as they have those IEP meetings. This is more for kind of a one-on-one type of curriculum or a student learning device that they're able to kind of use these funds when those things come up in some specialized IEP scenarios. Any questions on the proposed allocations of our IDEA budget?
Can I get a motion to approve the allocation of the fiscal year 28 IDE?
So moved.
Thank you. And may I get a second, please? I'll second that. Travis, if you would please.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Item C is approve a resolution to participate in the Meta bus bid program, and that would receive bids on behalf of Bloom Carroll School District along with a lot of other school districts for school bus chassis and bodies. This is a program we've participated in the last 4 years. This does not obligate us to purchase any buses. It simply puts us on the list to be able to choose from the successful bidders if we so choose to participate. So if we were to purchase a bus through this bid, it will require subsequent board action. So this just gets us on the list for eligibility.
Where are we with buses?
In terms of,
My understanding is they did some changes with the routing this year that actually decreased some of the sizes of the buses. So they got about 16 kids per bus.
We're pretty good over here at the primary school. The intermediate routes are okay. It's tight. I mean, all the ones are tight up. Middle school and high school routes are, in fact, people can't ride home the first couple of weeks until we get everything settled. I mean, if they want to ride home with their friends, it's
So my concern with that, just because I listened to one of those trainings on the buses, is that kids are pretty big at that size, and to put 3 to a seat, and if by some chance we have an accident and the kids are not behind that barrier, so we have 3 kids and we got 2 kids sitting on the edge of the seat, touching.
Shut down, yeah.
Yeah. So I just, wanna make sure that kind of fiscally we do what we're supposed to do, but safety-wise we do what we're supposed to do, and maybe, somebody needs to just, I know that the transportation department's done an excellent job, so I don't wanna say that, but I know with all the stuff they're carrying and all the.
Yeah.
Just. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the resolution, as permitted, or as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. And may I have a second, please? Come on, guys.
Second.
Thank you, Danny. And could I get a motion to approve, please?
Sure. Mr.
Or
Millis,
Could I get a roll
Yes.
call?
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
And then finally, we're thankful to be able to recognize the donation of $644 to the Bloom Carroll School District from Chris Claypool in the class of 1967 for the Wall of Remembrance. Mr. Hahn might be able to expand on that a little bit. I believe it's in the high school. Mr. Hahn has had most of the contact with that group.
Yeah, Mr. Claypool's a graduate, obviously, 1967, they have the 50th reunion coming up this year, and Thane Heacock also is a graduate, and those two wanted to do something and lead their class and doing something for the school district, and one thing that they felt, they have seen in some other places, something along the lines of a wall of remembrance, and it's to honor those that have given up their lives in the line of duty, that are graduates of the Bloom Carroll School District. When I get to the superintendent's report, I can maybe talk a little bit more about that, but I did give you a handout tonight, and it does involve basically a composite or a picture of the wall of remembrance, and then what the plaques will look like. That'll go on the wall out here between the auditorium entrance. There's a gold wall out there, and it's kind of a quieter place of the building, but it's a 20 by 16 inch sign. It'll look, when you see it in color and stuff, it's kind of a silver or aluminum kind of look, but it's very classy and respectful, and we touched base with a few of the families that we could get a hold of, and they were very thankful for the class of 67. It'll be unveiled on October 13th. That class is going to have their football, there's a football game that evening, and they wanted to come into the building a little early that night, so it'll be about 6:30 on the 13th of October, and that'll be the official night that they can see what their class has done for the district.
So can I get a motion to recognize the donation?
So moved.
Thank you. And I'll second. And Travis, if you would please.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Millis.
Yes.
Okay, and old business, the next on the agenda is we approve the resolution of adopting Calamity Days alternative makeup plan. So you want to explain that to Sean? It's number 30 in your electronic.
Right. This is something that Dr. Landis actually brought to the board. I believe at the last meeting in July, there was a resolution that was actually left out, the copy. So we're bringing it back. We've done this the last 3 years when the state has allowed it, but the state will allow you to make up the equivalent of the number of hours of 3 school days. Basically, if you look at our school calendar, we have calamity makeup days that have been defined when we would actually come back to school. And the way that works, on days 3, 5, and 8, online assignments or blizzard bags would be used for the Calamity Day makeup plan. And then on day 9, the students would actually come back. If we happen to miss 9 days of, or 8 days of school on the 9th one, we would have to make that up. But blizzard bags or online assignments would be made available. The students have 2 weeks to do them from the time they're assigned. And we also have to get the consent of the teachers union to do that, which is standard and part of the required law. So we no longer have to submit it to the Department of Education. It just has to be approved by the Board of Education. It's supposed to be done before August 1st, but we didn't have a resolution at that meeting. And last year, you guys approved it on August 8th at that meeting. So in the future, I want you to know if we continue to do it, we'll bring it to you in June or July and make sure we got it right, okay?
So Sean, it says, my concern is the kids that don't have access to online, there's some of our kids that don't. Do we make them available?
They're called blizzard bags if we make paper copies available, and yeah, that's when they're called blizzard bags.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution for the Calamity Days?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Okay, moving on to superintendent's recommendations and report. I have a few things I want to keep you up to date on. First of all, again, I think I made it clear how much I appreciate this opportunity, and I just want to thank you one final time as we start working together. It is a great opportunity, and I'm excited about it. I know it'll be difficult, but you know, I'm certainly excited and believe I'm up to the challenge. So, under different things going on, just want to let you know that August 1st obviously was my first official day. We met with the district leadership team and support staff in here. It consisted of about 28 staff members, and we had a meeting for half a day. We had lunch and a few other things, but we went over a lot of things for the upcoming school year and expectations. Make sure we're all on the same page with ways that things need to be handled within each building. And then I met with the administrative team separately on Friday, August 4th. For a full day, and we had a number of more in-depth kind of discussions with evaluations of teachers and making sure that everybody understands there's some changes this year where the value-added component actually can be used in their student growth measure, which is 35% of their evaluation. So there's been a safe harbor provision the last few years where we could not use the data. Now by law, if you have the data for value-added teachers, you have to use that. So that was kind of something that we needed to get everybody's brain kind of back on track between the administrative team and the teachers. And then there were several other things we talked about as well. I'm going to meet with support services tomorrow morning at 8 as well for one final check for the first day of school to make sure buses, food, the things that are really important when you start school, that we're ready to go there. And then of course maintenance as well. I'm going to jump around a little bit and I apologize, but one thing I provided a handout to all of you, but in discussions with other administrators and supervisors and even teachers over the last couple of years, there's been some conversation that, hey, you know, have you guys ever considered taking a look at our current mission, vision, and belief statements? And as you look at that in your packet, it certainly is meaningful and valuable, but we're in an age in a world where you look at the full page and you don't even necessarily read it, or most people say that they're not even reading it because it's very long when you look at our mission statement and values, and we're living in a world that's very quick and more of a 140 character kind of world. And it's not that we want to go away from what we believe. I'm a big believer in the district's historical past and the values of the district, and that's why I'm here. But we do want to take some time this year with the different buildings and teachers and support staff, and even get community input as well, and get feedback from the community about, you know, how they view our district and what they would like to possibly see if we had to reshape our mission, vision, and values. And a mission is, you know, supposed to be inspiring and something that connects to your staff and is your purpose every day, and something that can really kind of fit on a t-shirt anymore and people can remember. So we want to look at condensing that possibly. And then your vision statement should really be inspiring. It should be audacious. It should be, you know, it should be thoughtful. It should be about your kind of your North Star, like where you want to go, where you're trying to get to as a school district. And it's kind of that bar that keeps moving upward all the time. So just one thing that the district or that the staff has communicated they would like to kind of dive into a little bit. And then, you know, I've had some feedback over some time where, you know, people kind of say, I'm not sure what is a real focus area or what's a priority for us. And I felt like one area was to kind of lay down some focus areas or general principles. They're not goals, but they're general principles or belief statements that will help us accomplish the Board of Education goals and are more specific. And I'm sorry I'm going to take a couple minutes here, but I really want to go on the record, and I provided a handout of the guiding principles to you. And
Mine's in my notice book.
yeah,
I looked at it.
okay. So you know, when we look at 4 focus areas or principles, the importance of relationships, and we really cannot underestimate that communication and relationship piece. We are in a people business, and whether they're just community members or parents or students, they need to feel that we care and that we value them, and that's why we're here. We understand that we have these opportunities because we have people and students that are in our district, and without them, we cannot accomplish all the other things when it comes to student achievement and teaching and learning. And the facilities that we need to improve upon, and at the same time, we want to communicate the importance of being fiscally responsible. So, I guess I don't need to read through each one, but I want you to take a look at it and just know that they've been developed with the intent that they support the Board of Education goals and provide more detail. One thing with teaching and learning, we really want to dive into the importance of 21st century learning skills. The world is changing, and if our kids are not learning, if they're learning, I gave an example today to the staff that I got a second grader, and if she's being taught the same things that my seventh grader is being taught in a few years, then it's probably a little outdated because the world is changing that quickly. So we want to continue to encourage our teachers, ourselves, the administrative team, to grow and lead, and also instill that mindset in our students to be challenged, to be pushed in a positive way, but to be cared for, and then show that fiscal responsibility. And I do think that facilities should be a focus for us as a group, and it just kind of encompasses the complete student experience. So I wanted to share that with you.
So is there any group now, I mean, I know there's not more central anymore, that went to the wayside a while back, so is there anybody, any group or entity that we as a school district have to turn those types of things over to? Do you have to turn those over to ODE or not?
When you say basic,
What you're talking about?
no, not necessarily.
Not
It's
necessarily.
just something that I want to have the support of.
Oh, I don't have any problem, I just wondered if there was a,
Yeah,
like
there
used to be.
There isn't, but it's something where, like now with the new report card, enough districts have been doing poorly now. Jody went over how well we
Right.
do, but if you look at the big picture, you might think, oh my goodness, that doesn't sound very good.
Right.
The district or the State Department of Education.
But we were forewarned on that.
Yeah.
We know.
But the State Department of Education is now allowing you to submit other materials that says a lot about your district. And we have submitted a link to our website and the URL so people can see that there's more than a report card with the Imperial School District and with other districts. We're about much more than those numbers that you see up there. And that's only part of what we do.
Used to be back in the olden times when I taught that, the only time you looked at those mission statement things were when North Central came around.
Yeah,
It seemed
right.
like.
Right, and ours is, honestly, it's very outdated, but we want something that is kind of, what do we want to be remembered for? And it needs to be foundational but inspiring, and it needs to connect. And then our vision needs to be more future casting and clear and visible, and kind of that North Star for us. So I just wanted to share that with you, that's something, we're going to work on as we move forward with your support. And we would certainly bring that back to you before anything was ever finalized. Moving on, I did provide you with the Board of Ed monthly topics. I met with Mrs. Chapman, and I looked back over the last 10 years, and the list has really grown where there's about over 30 different groups or organizations, councils that present to the Board of Education each month. And we really just condensed it again, and things like the PTO or the Science Club or the FFA would fall under high school updates and would be part of that. But you can see, usually with your packet, you have a list of participation topics up through December, and then we had kind of finished out the year, and we'll see what, some changes, if there's some changes in the board at that point, what they want to do, but this is kind of the list for now with the monthly participation topics. I provided the wall of remembrance, obviously. Just to give you a few more updates, transportation, they are ready to go. Janice does a great job. The buses all passed inspection. Winchester Road causes a little bit of a issue cutting through Castlewood or Kaufman, but she lets them reroute. It's not any major delays. And then you have Winchester Lithopolis Road that's closed August 21st through the 27th. So that's another issue. It's kind of difficult, it seems like, to get over here right now. It has been that way for a while. Yeah, so just wanted to alert you that we're aware of that, and Janice is planned ahead. Facilities, maintenance department, they're amazing how well they work together. It was tough, they had to be very flexible with TeenServe, which was a great community organization that helped out around Fairfield County with community service projects, but they were living in here for a week and a half or so, and John and his crew, all the custodians and maintenance guys and ladies had to move around the district, and they were able to get everything done and ready to go. But overall, that event was a success. I thank all of you for approving the air conditioning units in the high school. They got a round of applause today with the 10 additional air conditioning units that were installed. So that means about 2/3 of the high school classrooms have at least a window unit. And then, the elementaries have a window unit, and the middle school obviously is well.
So do you have a plan, and we talked about this last week, I guess.
Yeah.
Is there a plan for the rest of the high school to be done next year?
Well, we, when I was a high school principal, I actually asked for the whole building to
Oh,
be,
yeah, why not?
but, that's
You
a
got a
different,
big no on that.
yeah, that's a different part, but I understand, and,
But you wouldn't want to be teaching in there when it's.
yeah, and I assume that, we will bring it back next year to see if there's some funds available to maybe finish that out or complete some more classrooms and break up that cost.
Squeeze some more money out of Travis.
Yeah, maybe.
It's our treasurer.
The modulars received a fresh coat of paint to try to dress those up a little bit. The carpet was torn out inside, tile floors were put down to make that a little bit cleaner in there and easier to clean. The stadium entrance, I want to make sure it's clear that the Athletic Boosters has worked closely with the Board of Education, Dr. Landis and Travis. That's really coming along out there. They have raised money and donated money for those ticket booths and that nice gate to Carl Fell Stadium. But the old concession stand was torn down. Some blacktop was put down. Obviously, the Board of Education, Travis and Dr. Landis allocated some funds to build a new shed at the north end of the bleachers. And
That's already in, right?
Yeah, that's in.
I looked over there last week or a week or so ago, and I thought, oh.
Yeah, that is being shared between the band, the performing arts with the school play, and some of their props and things that are in storage back here, kind of filling up an area that it should be. And then also athletics has a third of that as well. So that has gone well. Technology, we provided several more laptop cards. Primary and intermediate teachers now have their own laptops like the middle school and high school teachers, so they're more mobile, and that's important in our facilities to be able to move and adjust the spaces right now. There's some VR virtual reality equipment that's been added to the high school, and if you haven't ever used that, that's a really neat way for kids to experience kind of just a virtual tour of going just about anywhere in the world, or going into a lung or a heart through a virtual process. So several technology improvements throughout the summer. Jody talked about ELA. Open house tomorrow night for the primary and intermediate schools. The high school had the back to school kickoff last week. The middle school has an open house. They've done a locker night and 5th grade orientation, but they also have an open house on the 31st coming up once school has started. The adventure program this summer was outstanding. That's been kind of a joint effort between our FFA program and the Village of Carroll, and we thank the Village of Carroll for their contributions in space. A lot of little kids were able to learn a lot about agriculture and have a great time, and the high school kids showed a lot of great leadership there. I want to mention that Grant and Grace Locke, they're on the agenda for something else tonight, but those are 2 high school students, brother and sister. They've been selected as one of 12 groups in their division to participate in the National FFA Agri-Science Fair. They're finalists for their food products and processing systems. They shared some information with the board a couple months back that they will be competing in October at the national convention, so their project was well received across the country. There's a RESA update, the Resident Educator Summative Assessment Program. It's basically like when teachers start teaching in their first 4 years, they're on an alternative resident educator license. It's not a professional license. They've been going through a 4-year program after they've already done 4 years of college. There's a ton of extra work with it, and there was a proposal to eliminate that. The governor vetoed that, but there is a dramatic reduction in the amount of work in year 3 of the program. So somebody that comes in has a lot of things that they have to do with a mentor, and filming themselves teaching and having it evaluated, and they send that to the Department of Education. And they take an assessment, but about 75% of the year 3 requirements have been reduced. And then Jody mentioned state testing. 4th and 6th grade social studies assessments have been eliminated by the state, so the 4th and 6th graders see a reduction in testing with the social studies assessments. There was a proposal to allow districts to choose between paper, pencil, and online. The governor vetoed that, so you still have to apply for the waiver. I'm not aware of any that received a waiver. We applied last year, did not get that, and with the number of additional devices that we've added, again, it remains highly unlikely.
I think OSBA is going to try and push for that. I went to that legislative platform training last week, 2 weeks ago, and there's a number of things like that they're going to try, but the chances of it happening
When you look at the percentages of kids scoring proficient on these state assessments, and especially the high school end of course exams, you can see that there's a huge issue with the number of kids being ready to graduate overall Blue Carroll School District. This year's senior class is in good shape. However, the state did provide 2 more graduation options for the class of 2018 only. And there's some basic attendance rates. If they come to school 93% of the time during their 12th grade year, if they do 120 hours of community service, that would be the most common or most likely way to be able to graduate this year. There's other options as well, but just want you to know that those are out there for kids that maybe are short on graduation points at the end of course exams. And our high school principal and administration will be communicating with their families and with all the families that are in the senior class and the students as well at meetings, so they know from the get-go what they need to do to get through this year if they are tight on points. Okay. All right. Sorry. I think superintendent's report, that'll probably be my longest one ever, right?
You'll start leaning it down, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should, I'm just.
So that's kind of the summer in review.
It's a busy summer.
Yeah. And then under students and programs, 9B, approve the attendance of 2 high school FFA students, Grant and Grace Locke, at the Big E Agri-Science Fair event in Springfield, Massachusetts, from September 14th, 2017 through September 17th, 2017, to be chaperoned by Christy Bachman and Jack and Lori Locke.
I understand Lori, but with that check. I know.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
But not enough of thing.
And
I already knew it, didn't I?
I mean, let the board, let these guys know and Ms. Bachman know how, that the board really acknowledges their bid.
And this is different than the
And the other,
National FFA Convention. We'll be bringing that back to the next one.
In July, did we have the, since I wasn't here, did we have the, report on the state science fair in July? We haven't had that yet. I'm just curious.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
yes.
Moving on to 9C, personnel and employment. Approve the substitute list number 1 for August 2017 as submitted by the Fairfield County Educational Service Center.
Voting line. No, I need a motion first. Sorry. Can I get a motion to approve the substitute list as presented? I'll make that motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. And Travis, approve, please.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Abstain.
C2, approve the employment of Emily Bogart as a 3rd grade summer school teacher for 2017. I believe my understanding is it was just missed in June. Approve the employment of Cody Carpenter as a 2nd grade teacher on initial sequence 1-year limited contract at step 3 with a bachelor's degree with 150 hours for the 2017-18 school year pursuant to the receipt verification background checks effective August 14th, 2017. This is to fill the vacancy created by the voluntary transfer of Joey Conrad. Number 4, approve the employment of Kristen Neff as a 0.6 FTE speech language pathologist at the intermediate school and high school on an initial sequence 1-year limited contract at step 0 with a master's degree for the 17-18 school year pursuant to the receipt of verifications and background checks effective August 14th, 2017 to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Katie Anderson. It'll be 2 days at the intermediate school and 1 day at the high school. Number 5, approve the employment of Tyler Clark as lead computer technician on a 1-year limited contract at step 8 for the 17-18 school year pursuant to the receipt of verification and background checks effective August 14th, 2017 to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Zach Bobo. Number 6, approve the employment of Ryan Poyne as primary school custodian on a 1-year contract at step 6 for the 2017-18 school year effective August 14th, 2017 to fill the vacancy created by the voluntary transfer of Robin Grove. Number 7, I'm going to read in change that was actually on the addendum. Number 7, approve replacing the health secretary position at the intermediate school with a full-time general duty aide at 7.5 hours per day, 5 days per week, pending approval Of agenda item 9F1, which is resignation of Shauna Williams. This was proposed by our intermediate school principal along with the secretary, and I did talk to the school nurse, Ms. Bigham, and she fully understands and supports this, and it is due to the need of several areas throughout the building rather than just,
Primarily, it's because we've got a lot of, I don't know the number, but we have a significant number of children coming in with 504s and IEPs into that third grade.
we need more support in the fourth grade with the special needs population. There's 6 to 7 in one class. That we need some support. They need some help in the cafeteria downstairs with getting the kids lined up at lunchtime. They need help with the front door when the phones are ringing and there's a student that may have a minor injury that needs a Band-Aid or something. They still need to be able to answer the phones and get to the door. This is really a general duty aid position, and that the health needs will still be met according to Mrs. Bigham, Mr. Rozeski, and Mrs. Swider. Number 8, approve the request for salary column changes for the following certificated personnel effective August 15th, 2017, pursuant to the receipt of official transcripts. A, Mandy Brenneman, from master's degree to master's plus 15. B, Jason Barber, from bachelor's degree to bachelor's with 150 semester hours. And number 9, approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the 17-18 school year, pending timely receipt of all verifications and background checks. Candidates A through E as presented. Number 10, approve the following athletic department volunteers for the 17-18 school year. The following candidates A through F as presented. Number 11, approve amending the academic supplemental contract of Jacob Wetterston from 100% quiz team advisor to 50% quiz team co-advisor. Approve the academic supplemental contract of Thomas Krusek to 50% quiz team co-advisor, pending approval of agenda item 9C11. Number 13, approve Michaela Gillenwater as a substitute aide and lunchroom monitor for the 17-18 school year. Number 14, approve the following field experience students for the 17-18 school year. A, Lauren Jones from Ohio University of Lancaster with Carrie Kern at Bloom Carroll Intermediate School, effective August 28th, 2017 through December 8th, 2017. And B, Stephen Howard from OUL with Emily Bogart at Bloom Carroll Intermediate School, effective August 28th, 2017 through December 8th, 2017. Number 15, approve the employment of Kimberly Barr Hunt as a long-term substitute teacher for Julie Ebert at the primary school, effective August 14th, 2017 through approximately August 20th, 2017. Number 16, approve Ellen Bell as an occupational therapy assistant with Denise Barty at the for the 17-18 school year, effective August 15th, 2017, pending receipt of background checks at no additional cost to the district. Number 17, approve the following volunteers for the 17-18 school year pending successful background check results, which will be the Group A volunteers with background checks on file. We have a voting line.
Can I get a motion to approve the items above that have been presented?
I have a question. Can we do it now or later? About. So with 7, that leaves us with 2 nurses, and why wouldn't Shauna Williams' position be replaced with another nurse?
Yeah.
She was, Dave, you remember Shauna was not hired as a nurse. She functioned in an aide's position while she was working on the nurse practitioner's license. Lynn didn't want to bring a nurse forward, and we approved her in an aide position.
It was a health secretary. It was a health secretary.
She was working as an aide only.
Yeah, health secretary. Yeah. But the problem that put her in, which was one of the reasons I voted against it that night, was that she still had to work up to the licensure. So we had a health aide that was a licensed nurse that still had to work up to it. I mean, if something happened, she still had to function as a
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Are there any other questions? And if not, could I get a motion to approve the items as presented?
So,
Thank you, Mark. And could I get a second, please? A second. And could we have a roll call?
Mr. Mellis?
yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Travis, would you either send it to us or bring it to us, the new salary schedules with the, I know we approved the contract, and
Yeah.
so it would just be easy to have it with this when we're looking at the salary.
Number 18, approve the rehiring of Gene Seeger, a previously retired Blue Carroll employee as an aide at the high school at step 5 for the 17-18 school year effective August 14, 2017. Number 19, approve the rehiring of Bonnie Kaiser, a previously retired Blue Carroll employee as head cook at the intermediate school at step 5 for the 17-18 school year effective August 14, 2017. And number 20, approve amending the athletic supplemental contract of Scott Bartholomew from 7th grade assistant football coach to varsity assistant football coach, Group C, Step 12, pending approval of agenda items 9F2 and 9F4, which would be the resignations of Jason Best and Scott Bartholomew.
Could I get a motion to approve the items above as presented? Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Thank you, Matt.
And again, nothing against the individuals personally, it's just prior votes, someone needs to retire, rehire without posted positions.
Travis, if you would please.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Millis,
Yes.
Mr. Fowler,
No.
and Mrs. Chapman.
Yes.
Under D, contracts and agreements, approve an agreement of employment services with New Horizon Mental Health Services to provide school-based therapy
Got our
services.
I'm sorry to interrupt the addendum.
Oh,
the-
I'm sorry. We have the addendum item, 9C, which would be 21, I apologize. 9C 21, approve the addition of one full-time second grade teacher for the 17-18 school year due to increased enrollment. 22, approve the addition of one full-time third grade teacher for the 17-18 school year due to increased enrollment. 23, approve the employment of Jeffrey Luke as a substitute bus driver for the 17-18 school year. And 24, approve the reduction in work hours per day of Rebecca Roberts from 5 hours to 4 hours.
Sean, can you explain how this teacher's gonna function? Because I don't want folks to think that we're
Yeah,
adding sections, because we don't have any rooms to add sections.
as of Friday, midday, the numbers, were continuing to grow. Major concerns, with the second grade and the third grade. There's a huge need in the third grade, with close to 15 students that are, students on IEP. In the third grade, you have a third grade reading guarantee that students have to do well on in order to get the promotion score and move on to fourth grade. The total class size as of Friday was 163. There were 6 sections. The numbers were 28, 27, 26, 27, 27, 28. That's an average of 27.1. Obviously, space at the intermediate primary school is an issue. Bringing in modulars and trying to hook those up at this point in time will be extremely difficult and costly. Also, the issue is you end up pulling students out of the, if you create a new section with their own classroom at, a month into school, there's issues with which kids get to go and the disruption to their school year. We felt it was more cost effective, and the teachers are fully on board and support this, as do the principals at the intermediate and primary school. But the teacher will work as a co-teacher, so fully licensed full-time teacher that will be able to work side by side, especially in the reading and math areas, and move from classroom to classroom during the day and throughout the week, and help reduce the numbers. If you have 28 in a classroom and you're working on reading with the second graders, I'm sorry, those numbers I gave you were third graders, I'm sorry. Then obviously you're reducing it to 1 to 14 ratio. The teacher's expected to plan, grade papers, work side by side with the other teachers. It is not an aid position. They are trained professional that understand reading strategies and reading intervention. We'll have a reading endorsement to help assist with that third grade. And the team was very excited about the setup. We'll have to look at the future at our numbers, but there's 166 or 165 second graders that'll move to third grade. So it's still very feasible to have a 7th section of third grade next year as well, if we're adding that 7th section tonight.
So what happens if we have an increase of people coming to the school district between now and after Labor Day, which sometimes people do? I mean, I've seen school districts where it dawned on the parents, oh, school started exactly Labor Day.
I think.
So what happens with that other teacher? Would you move them into a quote regular classroom by themselves then, or what?
We would have to look at that, but it becomes quite a disruption to the students to pull them a month or a month and a half. And the other issue is with the specials classes, there's a rotation and there's only enough space where these 6 teachers can get their 27 or 28 kids into a class, and there would be a group of 25 to, maybe 23, 24, 25 kids if we reduce the class sizes and have their own classroom, that they wouldn't be able to get the specials on the rotation with the amount of staff we have for the specials, in talking with Vicki and Steve. So which 25 kids don't get to go to gym or don't get to go to art. So this way, we can service all the kids, they get the same opportunities, but we can break it down into smaller groups for this year. Honestly, it's kind of a bandage for this year, and then we're gonna have to look at next spring. We have more time to plan and maybe bring in a modular and look at the cost with all of you and Travis as well. Now the second grade, obviously, class sizes were 3 sections of 28 and 3 at 27. For 165 students as of Friday, that's 27 and a half. When you say 3 classes of 28 in the second grade and those modulars, it doesn't really allow for great individual needs, and you start noticing by second grade some of the supports in reading and math that the students need. And this is not going to be an intervention specialist, it's a full-time regular teacher that can help reduce, 2 teachers working side by side in a classroom and pulling kids and moving them into an empty classroom where a teacher may be on a planning period to help get more of that individualized impact on the kids.
And we have several of the teachers who say, when I was dropping off books at the intermediate, that they have worked in a co-teaching model before. I know Pickerington has done it, and so it does have some benefits. It'll take cooperation of everybody.
What's
It's more
the
about the
penalty
students,
number?
it's, the staff's.
Over 27.
Or 27?
What's that?
I asked what the penalty number was for the teacher where he gets,
Yeah.
they get increased pay,
Yeah.
27.
27, we can't go over 30, and we still, the district office, as I said, Michelle Scott was busy today, and that's not a good thing. She was busy today, and we did have some withdrawals that took place, and I think the number is gonna shake out right around this 165 when it's all said and done, but 28 in 3 sections of second grade and 3 sections of 27, it's pretty tight.
I wouldn't be I'm sorry.
But they were very thankful and very excited about this idea, and their principals and their team is on board with the help that they will get here.
And just so one of the questions that I asked when Sean brought it forward was, how do you find a teacher? It's not an entire rehire. How do you find? So there are teachers out there that we have interviewed before that are either new educators or transferring into the area. So we have an opportunity, and we do have a pool that we'll be able to start from.
Yeah, and contrary to what you hear, the pre-K to 3 license with the reading endorsement, there's an abundance of those teachers out there. It's a license, more of a common license, and not everybody gets a job in their first year. So we will post a job internally and externally. We will move quickly, but we can pull people in that have that license for positions that we've already had posted this year. We can call those applicants back if we liked one of them, but there was somebody else chosen. So we'll look at it from a number of perspectives, look at the candidate pool that we received and the ones that we already have that have that license type for that area. So Vicki and Steve are prepared and ready to go tomorrow morning if this is approved tonight. Did we get them all? Oh, yeah.
I think we did. Okay, could I get a motion to approve the items as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. And may I have a second, please? A second, Travis, if you would, please.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Is this where a lot of say that Vicki and Steve always don't come back?
That's what I told them. I said, if you turn this down, you're not getting it back. Don't come asking next spring if you don't get it back. We're now moving on to the contracts and agreements. Number one, approve the agreement of employment services with New Horizon Mental Health Services to provide school-based therapy services at the primary school, 7.5 hours per day, 1 day per week, to provide support services for Katie Wentz, our district psychologist, for the 17-18 school year. She's getting more and more demand on her for small group counseling. She does several small groups, like a divorce group, an anxiety group, one-on-one counseling, and then she has all the MFEs, the multi-factor evaluations, or the re-evals of IEP students, and annual reviews, and she's just getting spread very thin. This individual would come in on a Thursday and do some of the small group counseling over here at the primary for the groups that she has created. Okay. Number two, approve the College Credit Plus agreement between Boone Carroll Local School District and Ohio University effective August 28, 2017 for the 17-18 school year. Approve an agreement with the Fairfield County ESC for the employment of Candy Casey, transportation aide, on behalf of the district for the 17-18 school year.
I have a question. Why would we be going through the ESC for transportation?
Travis?
It's just it's such a random thing that's not always needed on any given year, so it's to our advantage to not have that person on our contract and try to find something for that person. Do they have transportation aides at the ESC where if we wouldn't need it, they would be able to apply that person elsewhere?
Approve an agreement to partner with Fairfield County Educational Service Center in the implementation of deployment of mentors to address the needs of at-risk youth in the district. Just so you know, Dr. Landis in May, along with some other superintendents in the county, signed a commitment basically to Dr. Ward, the county superintendent, who is writing a grant for it's called the Fast Forward AmeriCorps Mentor Project. And the way this works, each district would have access to mentors, a minimum of 2 for grades 3 through 12. And it's in line with House Bill 410, which are a lot of the changes with attendance requirements and developing attendance intervention teams. These would be a mentor that would contact the students. They would be hired by the ESC. They would be screened by the ESC, but they would have a minimum of 3 contacts per week with students that are maybe at risk, that are having a difficult time getting to school. And then number 5, approve a memorandum of understanding for the Every Student Succeeds Act between Fairfield County Jobs and Family Services, Protective Services, and the Fairfield County Juvenile Probate Court and the Boone Carroll Local School District. And number 6, approve an agreement for National Web Check Program services and equipment. That's for the fingerprinting and background check. It's an annual agreement.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the items as presented?
So moved.
And a second, please? I'll make that second. And are there any questions? If not,
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Under other, don't have anything under F. Personnel, resignations and retirements. Accept the resignation of Shauna Williams, Intermediate School Health Secretary, effective August 15, 2017. F2, accept the resignation of Jason Best, Varsity Assistant Football Coach, effective August 3rd, 2017. Number 3, accept the resignation of Timothy Martin, 7th grade football coach, effective August 4th, 2017. Number 4, accept the resignation of Scott Bartholomew, 7th grade assistant football coach, effective August 3rd, 2017.
And could I get a motion to approve the personnel resignations and retirements?
So moved.
And could I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. And Travis?
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Millis?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes. So once again, our most favorite part of the meeting is we have several policies that are available to you for your first read. I'm not going to read the list, but there is, as listed, the committee met, Mark, while you were, I think you were in
No, I went to that one.
You went to that one?
Yeah.
We did it right before.
Right before you.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
3 of us were there.
Yes, okay, so Mark didn't get out of that with this trip, so that was good. But anyway, the policies are there. If you have any questions or concerns, if you would let Sean know, that would be very helpful.
And we do have a nice picture of Linda with a 9-foot stuffed bear with this big claw around her, looking like she's really scared.
That's a great trip. Okay, And, on your addendum, we also have,
Yes,
Just
vote.
vote.
oh, I'm sorry, I have a voting line. I was gonna put them together. Could I get a motion to approve the policies for the first read?
So moved since I'm at the meeting.
Thanks, Mark, and I will second, and Travis, if you would please.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Hold that just one second before we move on. Do you want to talk about the fines in the policy, just to make note that how we're handling the cafeteria?
Yeah, which one is it? It's the,
It's F, or there's 12, I'm sorry. 12.
well, the students fines fees, food service,
There it is,
it's actually
food
number 7, food service management, free and reduced price. There is and it's interesting that it came up that it's a required policy because it's one that we've struggled with, I know during the 4 years I've been here. But districts have to develop a lunch charge policy, a clear policy that is in writing, that is communicated. We have the policy, but this policy just says that you have to develop your practice and put that in writing and communicate it. It'll be on our website soon, on our food service department, but long story short, students will not be denied a lunch. They will always get a lunch. I want to make that clear. That's one thing that we feel needs to be done. But students can charge 3 full hot meals or lunch meals. And then they begin an alternative lunch, which is a sandwich, a fruit, and a milk that they receive after 3 lunch charges. That would be the equivalent of about $9 or $10 of charges before they get an alternative lunch. The process is that Maryland or the food service department will notify the students. Yeah, you also have to have a procedure for collecting, which falls under number 12, policy JN, students' fees, fines, and charges. And the procedure will be that the food service director will send a letter home when they reach a 0 balance, an email, and then a phone call will go home at the next level, which would be 3. When they get to 5 charges, a phone call will go home again, and then if they haven't collected those, it'll actually become a fiscal issue where it'll go once a quarter, it'll go to our treasurer's office, and a letter from our district office will be sent that they have an outstanding fee or fine due to lunch charge, but students will continue to be fed. Just kind of clarifies our collections process.
We did talk to Marilyn about this too, just to let the board know, because I was concerned, number one, principals were making some of these phone calls, and we felt, the board, Mark and I felt that we needed to remove the principals out of it, because the principals are there to, for our educational purposes, and they're not there to be hounding families that, we may, and I shouldn't use the word hound. They're not there to be bill collectors.
That's
So-
Travis's job, right?
Yeah, so we decided with Travis's agreement that we would turn that over to our fiscal office and allow our fiscal folks to potentially handle that, so that our teachers or our food services people and our principals can handle stuff. Now, I didn't realize, to be honest with you, how some of these have gotten really way out of hand, and we did have donations.
Is this a big problem?
Well, what I'm finding out is that some of our high school kids that drive have the money given to them, and then somehow or another it gets gas in the tank, or it gets,
Vending machines.
Vending
Yeah.
machines, obviously.
or whatever, and then mom says, I gave the kid money, and then, so that's why Marilyn's gonna be emailing, but I don't know that I don't know the full story at the high school level. At the little level, some of the families are struggling and stuff, so we wanted to just make sure that kids got what they needed.
And they will have access to the free and reduced lunch application, which is done online nationally. It's a national website, but if they can't get online access, we have paper copies available in the office as well, and that'll be communicated. Just for correction, the students will be alerted about the low balance daily by a cashier privately. Charge notices will be emailed to the parent upon reaching a negative account balance. Parents will receive a mailed letter after 3 charge limit is reached, and then parents will receive phone calls from the food service supervisor at least 2 attempts.
I think we're gonna change that to email, because by the time the letter arrives, they will already be at the next stage.
Could be very, very well.
So Marilyn said that we have most of our parents.
But this is an issue in a lot of districts. A lot of districts already have policies. built ours in comparison to Marysville, Lancaster, Worthington. We looked at a variety of different districts, and they all followed kind of the same procedure, except one did a cheese sandwich. We won't be doing a cheese sandwich, so.
I'm sorry.
Good.
Danny, I kept
That'll
hearing
make-
you in the back of my ear, you know, healthy, we need to be healthy, so.
Yeah.
But I did want the board to know that Travis did, you know, step up, and I do appreciate that, because I really don't want to.
The fees are usually, if they roll over, some kids will have $200 or $300 of fees by the time they get to their senior year, and they didn't qualify for free and reduced lunch, and then before they walk at graduation,
We gotta pay.
they gotta pay, and we usually get it, so it might take a few years, but we usually get it. So,
Okay. And, next is select delegate. Isn't that just our OSB representative?
well, it can be.
Isn't that what we've always done?
This is bounced around because at one time, you know, this was chosen, but then again, it went back to the January official vote. So, and I am willing to do it again.
Okay. So I guess
Unless
we-
somebody wants to step up and they want to sit
Feel
there.
free, it's all yours.
I mean, thank you, Ron. Okay, so, we are going to, ask, and graciously accept,
It's 5 points to the award of achievement, so I'm all good about that.
as a delegate to represent the board at the annual business meeting. I probably will be attending, but I probably will not be attending the annual business meeting, so, and that's November 13th.
We do have to name an alternate
Yeah.
as well, though.
So you'll be the alternate?
Yeah, I'll be the alternate. Unless Mark wants to be the alternate.
But I mean, are you still talking about the workshop, the thing that goes on for several days?
Yeah,
Well,
but it's on the.
I still probably wanna go, but I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know necessarily.
So we'll hand wrestle each other to see who's gonna go, but one of us will be there. Mr.
I'll
Powers said.
definitely go.
Okay. And if I could get a motion to approve,
So moved.
thank you. And a second, I will second. And Travis, if you would.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman?
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is board reports and information, facilities management, transportation. I think we've heard about the transportation and the buses, and again, kudos to the transportation department. Well, hold that to Wednesday, but I think, you know, just if we can just monitor make sure that we're in compliance with safety. Personnel and labor management, anything, I don't have any. Travis, okay. Media communications and community relations, anything yet? We did get our, new district, web, what are we calling that? The Blue Carroll, this is Blue Carroll.
The
video
newsletter, the video?
Yeah.
The video, yes, we
Yeah.
finally, that was a year-long
I
project.
just want to be clear, that's something that Jody has done an excellent job on. She started that last year, and it was supposed to kind of be released last spring around the showcase, but Dr. Landis had decided to move on, so it kind of presented a hiccup with her
I
timing.
understand that you don't take more than one take,
No, I don't
so
do
that was good.
Exactly.
She guilted me into that.
I-
She did a great job.
But it was
with
very well done, so.
Well, thank you.
OSBA,
Somewhere on the horizon is the Central District Regional Conference, and you received the email that sometime in late August, you have to be registered for the Capital Conference.
And the legislative thing went pretty well. I attended. So good.
great.
Nothing restricting. In fact, they didn't even feed us lunch. It went from 9:30 until just before noon. That was
That's good. We just heard from the policy and we heard from curriculum, so, safety, health, and wellness.
Just remind, you know when the fall meeting will be? I know we have a fall and a kind of spring, winter, spring.
The wellness meeting?
Yeah.
I don't, I will, look at that tomorrow, and I will let you know tomorrow.
And Mr. Recess did tell me this morning that they are gonna do the, day that they had at the school last year, their health day.
Oh, okay.
And all the different- so they are still planning on doing that in the spring, so that'll be kind of exciting. And I know, the nurses have a couple things planned, so,
It's part of the health and wellness day.
so that'll be kind of exciting. PTO listings are there. I imagine we're gonna have, I imagine that we'll have a month sale coming up, but I'm not sure about that, so just to let you know, I guess we are gonna have a month sale coming up, okay. We're gonna go ahead and adjourn from regular session and go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase or sale of property. And the time is 7:30. 7:28, okay. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And I will second. And Travis, if you would.
Mr. Fowler,
Yes.
Mrs. Chapman,
Yes.
Mr. DeSalvo,
Yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes.
Do you think we'll be